What's up, y'all? This is Henny. Listen, today I gotta get straight to it. There's been too many people asking me for this tutorial. Today we're talking about AUM, my music production workflow, and how I use this app to really level up my iOS music production. I'm loving this app a whole lot, and I'll show you exactly why right now. Let's go! The business. So listen, I have a series on my channel right now called Silent Beatmaking. It's kind of a second iteration to my adventures in beatmaking that I did a few years back, but just basically narrowing it down to the beats and no talking, just strictly beat making. And so a lot of people have been asking me, I've been using different workflows through the series, whether I'm using something like AUM, which I'm going to show today, something like Beatmaker 3, which I've shown in the past, and also other things like Cubasis 3, even something like Logic and other things. There's so many great apps within the iOS platform that it's really hard to sometimes figure out exactly what you need to do for your workflow. But I'm going to show you exactly what it is about AUM that I love and how I use it to really kind of get a flow going. Let's dive in. So when you load AUM up for the first time, you'll see that you'll just have this plus button with a box around it with nothing going on, and you'll probably be like, what am I supposed to do here? To the top left, you'll see your tempo. If you tap on that, you'll be able to adjust your tempo, be able to tap the tempo, and also enable or disable the metronome. But then there's 3 dots below the metronome that you really need to understand. You go in here and you'll see the clock options, right? The main thing that you got to think about is the sync quantum. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but basically that's when you're thinking about tempo, right? And you're thinking about exactly, how many beats you want your AUM to loop. That's going to be based off of your sync quantum, right? I usually have Ableton Link, which links all my other apps with tempo together enabled. And then also, I set my metronome level to about 30%. And that's pretty much how I'm having this set up. Now, right next to the tempo, you'll see the transport window where you can bring it back to the beginning, you can play, and you can record, enable, or record, disable. In the middle of the top, you'll see, your window for audio. Mine says HDMI out because I'm actually screen recording this at the moment, but that's exactly what that is. And then over to the right side, you'll see your DSP, which shows you how much, system processing you're using, and then your MIDI routing for how you route your MIDI, whether it's Bluetooth MIDI or normal plugged up MIDI. And then the 3 lines all the way to the right, you'll be able to see, right? All your other things in the menu, your files, save, clear, notes, help, settings, routing, all of that, right? The first thing I usually do, if you've seen a lot of my videos, is I like to use the app Blocs Wave. Kind of helps me get my juices flowing, get my ideas started. Sometimes I use pieces of it, sometimes I use a lot of it, but let me show you exactly how that works. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up Blocs Wave, and you can see I have a little loop that I've already started. I'm going to play that right now. Right, I just have some ideas. I have a melody piece, a few drum pieces. So now I come here into Blocs Wave, I hit the plus button, and I'm gonna hit audio. Now it's gonna bring me up a channel. At the top channel, you're gonna be able to see your sources, right? Whether you're using a hardware input, right? Your mic, your guitar, whatever, your bass, whatever you're using. An audio unit extension, which is like your AUV3s. Your different plugins, your inner app audio, which is kind of the older codec of some of these, the ways that, plugins and different apps work together, as well as audio bus, which can sync a lot of music together, right? Sync a lot of apps together. And then the file player, which is used in conjunction with the app Audio Share, which is an app that I've talked about tremendously. And it's, AUM and Audio Share are made by the same developer. So, and then the mix bus is where you can do your routing of your audio, right? So I'm going to go in here and go to Inner App Audio and come all the way down to Blocs Wave. Now, you'll see I have Blocs Wave. My tempo is set to 86 over here in the corner. And if I play in Blocs Wave, Now, the only thing that I don't like about Blockswave and AUM is the fact that the control window inside of AUM does not stop what's going on in Blockswave. But needless to say, that's not necessarily what I need to worry about, right? So the first thing I want to do is take the parts that I've done inside of Blockswave and bring them into AUM as audio files. Think of AUM as an amazing digital mixer for iOS. It can do so much in the routing, but it also has a recorder built in, right? So I'm going to take each piece that I recorded into Blockswave, solo them, and then record the loop. Doesn't matter the loop length because my sync quantum right here, when I come and tap down here, is only at 1 bar. So it's going to loop every 1 bar. So regardless if I have a 2-bar loop or a 4-bar loop or an 8-bar loop, it's all the same when it comes to recording it inside of AUM. I'm going to record enable Blockswave that's coming in the channel in AUM, right? I'm going to come back to Blockswave and let's just solo the drum pieces first. You can see the levels coming in on AUM. Now, the biggest thing about recording in loops, right? As you see this transport, you see this transport window just kind of going, right? Every bar it's going across. When I hit the record button, it's going to start recording as soon as it gets to the very beginning of the next bar, right? And it's going to end recording at that last bar that you tapped it at. So let me show you exactly how this works real quick. So I playing this drum piece. I'm gonna hit record enable. You see the light go from a blinking red to a solid red. And as soon as I stop it, it'll stop. If you don't see the red record button fully full and recording, you know that it's done recording. So now what I can do is bring in another channel and I'll bring in this file player. It'll ask to tap to load a file. In my AUM recordings, this is the recording from today. And you'll see that it's coming from channel 1, 86, BPM. And now the file player, right, will only play that loop once until you tell it to loop it. I tell it to loop it, but I also tell it to sync it, right? So I'm going to loop it. And I synced it. So now it's in sync with the tempo inside my AUM, BPM. And it's going to play a constant loop because I recorded that, right, from Blockswave. So I have that loop. So now I'm going to save this file, video. Let's load up the other pieces. Same way. Bring back in. Also, if you swipe to the left of any channel at the top, you'll put it into eject mode. You haven't fully ejected it, but you kind of getting it ready to eject the sound. So you can bring it back by swiping right, just to let you know. So now I'm going to do the same thing over here. Record enable. Wait for it to go. So right there, I just did the 1 bar. Come back in here, come to file player, tap to load, AUM recordings. Now the files are going to be in AUM workflow video because I saved the AUM session. And you'll see this clap. I'm going to hit load and sync. And you'll hear phasing right now because 2 of them are playing, right? As soon as I mute that on Blockswave, it'll be fine. Bring this in. Two-bar loop on that. Here we go. So now you see I have all the audio files that I got from Blockswave recorded directly into loops into AUM, right? I can eject that because I don't need Blockswave anymore because, you know, I basically taken all the pieces that I want for this track. Come up here, hit save session, overwrite, yes, and we're good. Come down here, you'll see my little channels that it's created for me. If I hit this, channel button down here, it'll ask me if I want to duplicate it or remove the channel. I'm just going to remove that channel because now I don't need that channel anymore, right? So now if I press play, I hit the, I come all the way to the front. This is when AUM starts to really get fun, right? Because now I can, I have some files that I can play with, and then I can play on top of them, right? First things first, maybe we want to beef up some of these drums and things like that, right? So I can come in here, down underneath the file player, you'll see this plus button, right? And this plus button is just here to show you what else you can do to this specific file. I'm going to go ahead and solo this file and hit this plus button here, and I'll show you that I can go into audio unit extensions, and I'll show you some of my effects that I can use for this app. Let me see here. One of the things that I always love to use is Fact Transient. Talked about this before, and I just give it the punch on drums. It just seems to really just help with my drums, and I'll show you with it on and with it off. It's subtle, right? But at the same time, it works very well. I can add another layer, and then from there, let's see here, I can maybe add some compression. I have been using, Blocs compressor. Sorry, I know I'll be butchering the names, but I love their compressor. I love coming here and going straight to like their light boost, and then just turning down here to the dry wet sign, maybe down just a little bit. Let me play it. So you'll see here, sounds really compressed. Maybe for this clap, I'll use the new mix box by IK Multimedia, which is amazing. So it has so many things you can do with it, but let's see, maybe I'll just do some distortion, give it a pressure. And you see here, I can hit this button. Maybe. And then from there, maybe I'll just stereo widen it with the Haze app that I love to use. For that one, just some panning maybe. right? So I'm just beefing up the sounds using the effects channel inside of AUM, right? Now, right? So I've done some ideas on just, trying to tweak the sound a little bit. And then from there, we can start adding in more sounds. So I can come in, bring in another channel, and instead of actually recording in audio sounds, right, we're going to start playing with some of these AUV plugins to start really working with some of the sounds inside of AUM. Let's see, maybe I'll go with Model D. And I have my Bluetooth keyboard here. I'm going to enable that. And here I can go settings, Bluetooth Midi. All right, it's connected. So now we got to start thinking about how do we route the Midi to specific devices, right? And it's pretty simple. You hit this little circle thingy right here to the top right, and it's asking you all the things that you want to do as far as routing. So I have my X key Air 25, and I want to send that to Model D. So I untap that, and if I bring this out a little bit more, I should be able to see my basses. Now, like I said before, the trick about AUM is making sure you start recording and you stop recording so that you're getting a good loop, right? So I'm going to record enable down here, right? And that's recording Model D, right? And then from there, I'm going to press play and start See, I missed it there. So what I'm going to do is wait until I find the right way to start and start. Here we go. I messed up. So it's going to keep that mess up. It's going to keep that loop. So I'm going to just do another one until I feel like it's right. Here we go. 5, 6. So I have that. And now I'm going to bring in another audio file, another file player. And you should see here, if I turn in load, and it should loop. So, like I said, you can layer these over and over, and that's what I'm doing, right? I just keep playing and putting in sounds, whether it's, finding keys that I like or finding, certain synths that I like, right? You kind of get the idea, right? I kind of layer this out. Now, just for timing purposes, let me just break down exactly what I do after the fact. So down here, you'll see your routing, right? All the way down at the bottom of each channel where it says HDMI. That's because it's, it's being fed to my computer so that I can record this video. But if I come down here, you'll see you have a few options. You can go to the hardware, right? System capture. You can see you can route it to an audio bus route, or you can go to the mix bus. What I like to do is send each sound to a mix bus, which is basically mixing each sound to a stereo bus at the end of my track. So I'm going to send this to mix A, I'm going to send this sound to mix A, I'm going to send this sound to mix A, all the way down. And now when I get to a new track, right, at the top, instead of doing an instrument or, a hardware input, I'm going to come down to file, I'm going to come down to mix bus, and I'm going to receive all those sounds coming from mix bus A to this channel. I mean, you could do that where you could set up different drum mixes or different, sounds, synth mixes or whatever, but you can literally space each thing out and start freaking them even more. So now you can see. And so I can use something like I've been using, which is like Koala Sampler's Effects plugin. Right? So now I have Koala Effects Sampler plugin. If I press play, so that's how I start freaking it at the end, right? Just start playing with it and seeing what's going on. But what I really love about this app is what you've seen in a lot of these videos is where I kind of slow things down, right? So you got to realize that all these files have already been pretty much recorded into the file player, and the file player is set, right, to sync and loop so that it's going to loop, right, and it's going to sync with the tempo. So all I have to do is tell it to turn the tempo down because I already have all the audio files synced and looped ready to go, and it'll just kind of work with the tempo. Here we go. Right? That's what I love to do. It's just start playing with it, freaking it, and whatever, right? And if I didn't like that, I can always go back to my original tempo, and it'll be right back. So, how do you get it to go into an actual track, right? So there's two ways you can do it, right? What I like to do, if you're just doing a reference track and, you're just kind of getting your ideas together, maybe you're not ready to go, specifically to an artist or specifically to like, a master composition, you can just start playing with it like this, right? So like everything else with AUM, you can record the audio, right? You can record your takes, you can record it just as a loop, or you can just record it out. Let's just record maybe an 8-bar loop of this, and I'll show you where it goes. So I have record enabled on my mix bus track, right? That's receiving all the audio coming in. All right, and I'll just record the loop. Here we go. 5, 6, 7, here we go. Right? So I just pretty much recorded that piece. But before I show you just that breakdown of the piece, what we can also do is record the stems as well. So let's do another take. Let's take off, let's keep Koala Effects there, and then we'll record enable all of these tracks. All right? So now we have everything record enabled. What this is going to do is record each individual stem as well as record the mix bus so that you have a mix bus which you're playing around with it, but also the stems so that you can go into another app and fully, develop it as a track or a song. Let me show you that. Here we go. 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So, what was that? 4 bars, something like that. So, you have all of those sounds, and we can go straight into audio share. Now, let me show you what we got. We got the AUM workflow video. Now, you'll see all these tracks that I just recorded. So, now you can see the individual files. Sorry. with the effects. And the fade bus, all right? And since I recorded it and stopped it within the loop parameters, it's a perfectly good loop for every single track. And so from there, you can see that, you can do so much with this app, whether you want to, kind of mix it on the fly and just use that as the track that you want to use to send to somebody, or you want to, export the stems, bring it into something like Cubasis or even Beatmaker 3 or any GarageBand or any of these other apps that you like to really develop an app. And, you can put vocals on it. You can do all these other things. You can fully, compose it even further. But as you can see, all of this can happen when you start to get in this workflow. Very simple, very easy, and you'll start to move a lot faster. I'm trying to show you and talk at the same time, so it's going to be a little bit slower for me. But I really enjoy this, and a lot of people get really hung up on AUM because they're not sure exactly what they can do and how they can work with it. This app is truly something that's crazy for just really getting ideas out and then being able to take them into a professional manner with stems, or even just, locking them into some type of bounced track. I hope that gave you a little bit of insight on AUM, how I'm using it, and exactly what are the things that I truly enjoy about it. For the most part, for me, I would love to see exactly what, different workflows can do for my creativity. And AUM is one of those things that's really, kind of changed it up for me and not made it so I had to think about just having a completed beat ready to go with the same workflow that I've been doing, in a linear timeline for years. This is a completely different approach to, trying to get your compositions and your ideas and your beats together, right? The awesome thing about AUM is it works the exact same way on the phone. And so I've been able to do these exact same things using things like Blocs and, Blocs Wave and AUM with different things on the phone exactly the same way. And if you do something on the phone, right, and you're saying, you know what, I want to bring that into my iPad, all you literally have to do is take the file folder that is in Audio Share, right? And I could hard press that and let's say make a zip file. It's going to compress all those sounds, right? And then I can take those sounds and bring them, airdrop them in here into Audio Share, and then just take the file that was created from AUM, and it loads up perfectly because you already have the audio files in the folder. It'll recognize the folder, recognize Audio Share, it'll just start loading things up. As long as you have the plugins installed, it'll load up the plugins as well, and everything just works. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. And I've already been recording for 50 minutes. Y'all already know what it is. I knew I had to get and break this thing down and show y'all exactly why I'm loving AUM right now. And it's kind of one of my preferred workflows for beat making on the iPad. If you got any more questions, just hit me up in the comments below, and we're going to have a discussion about AUM, whether you like it, whether it's too much for you, whether you'd rather stick to Beatmaker 3 or GarageBand or Cubasis 3, whatever it is, let me know what you're using, and hopefully I can give you some more insight on, what I've learned throughout these 5 years of trying to do it on iOS. So that's it. That's the tutorial for today, Henny's Tutorial Tuesdays. I don't know if that's going to be a thing or not, but that's pretty much what I got for you today, and hopefully you got something out of this. You guys stay safe, and I will talk to y'all in the next one. Hit 'em out!